It is my great pleasure to open the meeting and the inauguration of the 15th round of Adams Fellows. And I am privileged and honored to call upon Professor Nili Cohen, President of the Israeli Academy of Sciences and Arts and Humanities, to open formally this event. Nili, please.
Thank you very much. My dear friends, Sylvan, Margaret, Linda, Dina, dear Adams family, my dear friend, Professor Moshe Oren, the academic director of Adams Fellowship, our guest speaker, Professor Shai Efrati, dear recipients of Adams doctoral fellowships and their families, dear Adams alumni and alumnae, there are some here, dear friends and colleagues. I'm delighted to see you all here at the Israel Academy of Sciences and Humanities on this glorious occasion of the Adams Seminar. I'm grateful to the Adams family for the generous gift which supports this excellent group of doctoral students in science. I came to know Annie and Marcel Adams many years ago while I served as rector of Tel Aviv University. It was very easy to communicate with Marcel. He speaks fluent Hebrew. It turned out that he fought here in the War of Independence. The belief in human mind has led Marcel and his family to generously support various projects at Tel Aviv University, including the Brain Center and Information Systems Center at the Faculty of Management. When I became member at the Academy, I was delighted to see that the support of Adams' family has been expanded and applied to the overall academic activity of natural sciences in Israel. Indeed, his devotion and the commitment of the whole family to academic excellence have been absolute. Marcel and his family, present here, Linda Gil, Sylvan, Linda Dina, Sylvan Margaret, all Israeli citizens are endowed with generosity, vision, and the ability to translate vision into action. They believe in the young talents of Israeli science. They are committed to the success of Israel. The promotion of Israeli science is a major cornerstone in the success of Israel. On the eve of the Memorial Day, and 2 days before the anniversary of the State of Israel, we should be deeply grateful to those who sacrificed and to those who believed and supported. We are deeply grateful to you, Adams family. Adams Fellowships are the most prestigious scholarships for doctoral students in the sciences in Israel. I want to recognize Ruth Arnon, former president, who apologizes for not being able to attend, who fortified this project by her contribution to postdoctorate scholarships for women who are Adams Fellowship graduates. This is truly remarkable. The Adams Committee, headed by Professor Moshe Oren, is a guarantee that the best candidates are awarded these scholarships. Indeed, the success of Adams graduates serves as a proof. Many of them pursue academic careers here and abroad. Some of them work at the high-tech industry, some as medical doctors. The program is not only marked by its excellence, but by the fact that it has made its fellows a community of scholars united by conferences, symposia, trips, friendship. And this is the time to deeply thank past directors and Moshe Oren for the excellent leadership. We are also grateful to the members of Adams committees, and of course, to Batsheva Shor, the administrative director, for her devotion and the excellent way in which she manages the program. And finally, on this occasion, we celebrate Marcel's 99th birthday. With much love and gratitude, we wish you, dear Marcel, many happy returns. Thank you, dear family Adams. Much success to the new Adams doctoral students, and many thanks to you all.
So now it's the time to award the certificates to the new 8 Adams Fellows. So my privilege, right? So it's, again, our honor to hear the representatives, Marcel Adams' children, whom we saw on the screen, now in real life. Linda, please.
אני מרגישה מבורכת. זאת זכות גדולה להיות פה היום לברך במזל טוב את הזוכים במלגת אדמס. באמת מרגש אותי להכיר אתכם, לשמוע את השאיפות שלכם ואת החזון של כל אחד ואחת בתחומו במגוון המדעים שמוצגים בחדר זה. אז איך הגענו לכאן? אני אספר לכם סיפור. אבא שלנו חי בהרגשה של חוב למדינה הזאת, לעם שחיבק אותו וקיבל אותו והציל אותו ב-1944. הוא הגיע בחוסר כל על אחת מהספינות שבמקרה לא טבעה ולא הוחזרה לאירופה. והרגיש פשוט בר מזל, כמו שראיתם בסרט. הוא הגיע למחנה הקליטה בעתלית, ואחר כך לפרדס חנה, שהיה ביתו במשך 6 שנים. הוא זכה לשמוע במו אוזניו את הכרזת העצמאות ולשרת במלחמת השחרור, ובאמת לקחת חלק בתקומת מדינת ישראל. נכון שהחיים גלגלו אותו הלאה, ושהוא בנה את הצלחתו הכלכלית בקנדה, אבל הוא היה אומר, התפוצות הם בית המלון ליהודים, ישראל היא הבית. אמא למדה כימיה והתעניינה במדעים, ושניהם האמינו בחינוך, וחיפשו דרך לטפח דור צעיר שיקח חלק ויתרום להתפתחות מדינת ישראל. כך נבחר והוצב מלגת אדמס. אבא עצמו לא זכה ללמוד בגלל האנטישמיות ברומניה, הוא אפילו לא סיים תיכון, והיה אוטודידקט עיקש. אבא פנה לאקדמאי במשפחה, בעלי האהוב, פרופסור גיל טרוי, שבדרך כלל נמצא איתנו, היום הוא בדרום עם הבן שלנו, לקראת יום הזיכרון. ושני אנשי ספר ורעיונות השקיעו שעות רבות לבנות את המתכונת שבה מתנהלת המלגה מזה 15 שנה. אז הפרס הוא מסמל גם סיפור אהבה ורעות ביניהם. כך הגענו מרעיון לביצוע, ואני זוכה להגיד לכם שוב בשמי, בשם אבא שלי במונטריאול, ממשפחת אדמס וטרוי היושבים כאן ורחוק מכאן, מזל טוב והצלחה. ושכחתי להגיד תודה, כמובן לנילי, למשה ולבת שבע שמנהלת לנו את החיים.
Sylvan, please.
So Linda told you an additionally nice story about our father, but I'm going to change the focus, and I will talk about our mother, who you also saw in the movie. Sadly, she's gone how many years now?
21 and a half.
Right. So my mother passed away 21 and a half years ago. And we've been talking about my father, and my father is, of course, he's very proud of this program. But this program really was my mother's idea. My mother was, she also had a similar story, although they met in Canada. She was also passed the war in Romania, and after the war, they came. She was an only child, and she and her parents came in 1947 to Palestine at the time. And the British turned them away, and they spent 6 months in an internment camp in Cyprus, which is, of course, everybody knows the movie Exodus. My mother lived the movie Exodus, and then came to the fledgling state of Israel, whose birthday we are celebrating in a couple of days. And I think fittingly, I think the timing of this is quite nice. And she did her high school in Israel. The family lived in Yafo. And my grandfather, she was an only child, so there were just the three of them. And my grandfather did not like the weather here. He found it too hot. And he came from a more northern country. By the way, he was a bit of a character himself. He had been in the French Foreign Legion. And he just found life in Israel too hot, basically too hot, and it wasn't good for his health. And they ended up emigrating to Canada, and my parents were introduced there. But my father was really, you saw a little bit about his professional life. My father was too busy to think about projects like this. These were my mother's ideas. We grew up in a Zionist household, obviously. Both my sister and I have made Aliyah, so we learned our Zionism from an early age. But the philanthropic works really were my mother's idea. She was really the glue of the family, and this Adams Fellowship program was conceived by her, negotiated by her. And of course, she brought my father along to these things. My father did not like to spend money, so it was tough. She was the broker who made the deals actually happen. But I thought it would be fitting to, because we don't have a movie, unfortunately, of my mother. She passed away far too young. She was only 64 when she passed away. I am approaching 64, so I feel it. I feel it closer and closer. So, Professor Efrati, you have to keep me young, because I am a patient at his hyperbaric chamber. This is where I got to know Shai and learn about the wonderful work he's doing. And the reason I'm concerned about non-responders is, my memory doesn't seem to be working any better than before I started, but that's something we'll discuss later. So again, I thought it was fitting that we should mention my mother a little bit more. This is not just the Marcel Adams story. This is the Annie and Marcel Adams story. So again, congratulations to the new fellows. You guys are obviously terrific, budding young superstars, and you are embarking on postgraduate studies that we hope will lead you very, very far. The program, again, the program was conceived for students who study in Israeli institutions. You may do postdocs and other things later on in life. You may go abroad and see other things, but it's not linked to any specific institution. But it had to be an Israeli institution, and this really was my mother's idea. So we wish you good luck. You got to meet some of your vatikim here earlier, and I understand that there is a wonderful, active Adams community, and I hope that you guys do stay together and do this. I hope Shai also inspired us to think in a multidisciplinary fashion, that you may be studying, crystals this big, but eventually you can learn from each other in terms of in terms of cross-disciplinary thought processes and research approaches. So I encourage you to be actively involved in the Adams fraternity. And it's a pleasure to meet you and welcome you, and mazal tov to all of you, and b'atzlacha.
So now I'm going to call on each of the new recipients, and either the recipients in person or a representative of the family will come on the podium and will receive the certificate from Nili, and then we will. Okay, we have 3 minutes of self-confession by each recipient. So I don't think they can stand up to your father's movie, but they're good. Okay, so we start with calling on the recipients. So the first recipient is Roie Dann from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. Roie, please.
Hi, my name is Roie Dann. I was born in Jerusalem and grew up in Kfar Yehoshua in Emek Israel. My father, Eldad Dann, is a medical doctor practicing medicine at the Rambam Medical Center in Haifa. And my mother, Hadassah Dann, is a biochemist. I am currently pursuing a PhD in chemistry in the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. I'm under the guidance of Professor Ronnie Kozlov. My research is theoretical and is conducted in the framework, a relatively new research field called quantum thermodynamics. This field aims to bridge between two basic physical theories, one thermodynamics and quantum mechanics. Thermodynamics is a science that governs the relationship between heat, work, energy, and temperature. And it was historically developed in the 19th century with a desire to increase the efficiency of early steam engines. And quantum mechanics is a physical theory which describes nature at the atomic and subatomic scales. In the framework of quantum thermodynamics, my research focuses on external controls and environment interactions and their mutual effect on quantum systems, with the aim to incorporate these effects in quantum devices and to enhance their performance. In the future, I hope to conduct independent theoretical research exploring quantum mechanics and take part in the pursuit to understand the underlying laws of nature. Thank you. I don't say anything.
Thank you, Roie. Nili? So. Thank you again, Roie. So everybody now understands here everything about quantum mechanics. Good reason to come here. Okay, the next recipient is Ron Efrat from Ben-Gurion University. Ron, please.
Hello, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank you, the Adams family and the Israeli Academy of Science. It's a great honor to be here. My name is Ron Efrat. I grew up in Rosh Pina, pictures town in the Upper Galilee, where I was a lot out in nature. We used to take our bicycles to the Jordan River and make a bonfire in the wadi next to our house, and that's probably what brought me to my current studies. My parents are Adam and Yudit. Both are now retired. My father used to work in the plastic industry, and my mother was an accountant. They raised me to love nature and people as one, and this is why I wanted to do better for both those things. In my research, which is in Oded Bergertal's lab, who sits there, he's also an Adams Fellow, I studied the ecology and behavior of endangered raptor species to better understand their learning processes and their effect on different stages of their lives. I use advanced GPS transmitters, which I harness to wild birds to follow their movement and behavior. Using the data from these transmitters, I study how the birds improve different skills over time and what affects their learning process. Specifically, I focused on the effects of captive breeding and other early life experiences on behavior development of vultures, aiming to answer both ecological and conservation management questions. Yesterday, we heard of another UN report stating that the way we humans behave changes nature so fast that it will eventually lead us to the destruction of our civilization. As alarming as it sounds, I believe that there still can be a different future, and we can still change the future, as Professor Efrati said. I believe that we need to increase our knowledge of the natural world that surrounds us and focus our effort on the implementation of this knowledge to the conservation of our world and our civilization. For myself, I hope to keep developing as a scientist and to keep answering ecological questions that could benefit us scientists, the public, and the conservation of our planet. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ron. And we are looking forward, and 10 years, 15 years from now, for a third generation Adams Fellow.
Yes.
Our next recipient is Renan Gross from the Weizmann Institute of Science. Renan, please.
Hi. So my name is Renan, and I was born in Rehovot, which is as good a place as any to get born in, if you ask me. Nobody really asked me. My mother and father, who you can see sitting over there, they didn't bother to consult me even once during this whole affair involving my birth. You know, you think you live in a democracy, but actually the tyranny of the parent still reigns supreme. Still, they must have done something right, since here I am today. Anyways, you shouldn't apply your typical Rehovot stereotypes to me just yet, since I didn't have the time to absorb them really. At age 8, I decided to take a break from the hardships of Israeli suburban elementary school life, and go see the world for a bit. So growing up, I was fortunate enough to see the 3 great cities of the world, which are Seattle, Tel Aviv, and Jerusalem. But these days, I'm back in Rehovot, where I raise a dog, a cat, and a hamster together with my lively wife, who is also sitting over there. I play the piano and practice archery, and in between I try to squeeze a couple of minutes research at the Weizmann Institute. My research focuses on 3 things at the moment. The first is to try and understand systems of interacting particles, whether it be the cold, hard atoms which make up a magnet, or the kind, warm-hearted individual people who build networking connections at the Adams seminar. You are all particles for mathematicians. I personally think it's wonderful that both you people and atoms in a magnet can be modeled by the same type of equations. Unfortunately, these equations are very hard to solve. So what I try to do is find out when we can relax them a bit and solve an easier version of them instead. That's one part. Another thing I like to do is to look at random walks, which basically, suppose you decide to take a walk around town, and every time you hit crossroads, you flip a coin and decide whether or not to cross. So we ask questions like, will you make it back home? And if you do, how long will it take you? And what streets will you see along the way? I guess in Rehovot everything will turn out to be quite fine, but maybe in Tel Aviv Central Bus Station you would get lost pretty quickly. And as surprising as it may seem, these sorts of questions, although when addressed to much stranger mathematical cities, they can tell us quite a lot about very different areas in mathematics. And finally, lately I've been interested in the theory of Boolean functions, which basically talks about elections and asks pressing questions such as how hard is it to change the outcome of a majority vote, or how much more influence do some individuals have on the election results than others? I should warn you, though, that this topic usually sits in the field of theoretical computer science, with an emphasis on theoretical. So despite talking about dictators and juntas all the time, please do not ask me anything about the Knesset or Trump, because I know nothing about that. Actually, my guess is that even by the end of my PhD, I'll still not know too much about the Knesset or about Trump, but maybe I'll know a little bit of something about those other things, with the magnets and equations and random walks, or at least one can hope.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Renan. Okay, so the next recipient is Aviv Cordially from Tel Aviv University. Aviv is not here today, but his parents will receive the certificate in his behalf. And I think we're going to have...
Hello, everyone. My name is Aviv Cordially. I'm a physics PhD student in the group of Professor Adi Aryeh in Tel Aviv University. I'm 30 years old, I'm married to Dana and father to a beautiful baby girl, Noah. Currently, we all live in Rehovot. First of all, I would like to thank the Adams family for awarding me the prestigious Adams Fellowship this year, and I apologize for not being able to attend the ceremony in person because I'm currently at a conference in the United States. Another deep gratitude belongs to my dear family, and specifically to my parents, Eran and Tami, and my wife, Dana, for their support along my academic journey over the years. My main field of research is nonlinear optics, which is the field that studies the interaction of light with very special materials that can change its frequency or color. In my research, I investigate the analogies between classical nonlinear systems and quantum mechanics. For example, one of these analogies predicts that photons, which are light particles, can behave like material particles, such as electrons or atoms, with a property called spin. This property interacts with an analogous magnetic field in conventional quantum mechanics. The magnetic field can deflect the particles according to their spin direction, and also induce a very interesting quantum phenomenon called the geometric phase. So, using these analogies that we discovered, and properly engineering the nonlinear interactions, we can mimic this behavior with single photons. And these effects can then in turn be useful for new technologies in quantum information. Another exciting research direction that interests me is the interaction of electrons, which are charged particles, with light on the quantum scale. The aim of the research is to find experimental evidence for explicit quantum effects when free electrons emit light, which can never be explained by classical physics. In this field of research, I'm collaborating with my co-advisor, Professor Ido Kaminer from the Technion. My hopes are that my current and future research will contribute to future quantum technologies, as well as to our fundamental understanding of quantum mechanics. I would like to again express my gratitude for awarding me the Adams Fellowship this year, and thank you all for your attention.
So father and mother and father Cordially, please.
תודה. Thank you very much for what you do for Israel. Thank you very much. תודה רבה.
Thank you again. And for all those parents who did not get the privilege to get on stage because your children happen to be here, thank you all for raising these stars of the future. Our next recipient is Yaron Laufer from Bar-Ilan University. Yaron, please.
Hello, my name is Yaron Laufer. I was born and raised in Petah Tikva. My parents are Dr. Shaul and Zavit Laufer. My father holds a PhD in electrical engineering from the Tel Aviv University. He is the founder of an innovative startup in the field of state light communications. And my mother is a lawyer at the State Comptroller Office. I am married to Bracha, which was also awarded the Adams Fellowship 2 years ago, and is here now. Yes. I am a PhD student at the Faculty of Engineering at the Bar-Ilan University, under the supervision of Professor Sharon Ganot. My research focuses on speech enhancement, which is a core problem in the field of audio signal processing. Real-life speech signals often involve interferent speakers and noise. Apart from noise, if a person speaks in an enclosed space, we hear both the direct sound as well as echoes reflected from objects in the room, resulting in a reverberation. As the level of the reverberation and noise increases, the quality of the perceived speech signal degrades. Speech enhancement therefore refers to extracting a desired speaker while cancelling distortion. Solutions to this problem are of great importance for various applications in devices as diverse as mobile phones and hearing aids. Commonly used techniques typically require the knowledge of several acoustic parameters, such as the acoustic channel and the noise characteristics. However, their estimation from noisy measurements is a non-trivial task, and typically suffers from large error. So in our research, we developed novel statistical methods as well as theoretical bounds for estimating those parameters required for enhancing a reverberant and noisy speech. As a PhD student, I enjoy the opportunity to explore different problems and to develop mathematical models and algorithms. And in the long run, I hope to be involved in the academic community in Israel. And finally, I am very grateful to the Adams family and to the Israel Academy of Sciences and Humanities for their generous support and their encouragement for academic excellence. Thank you very much.
So hopefully we are going to hear better on our mobile phones, and we will not need hearing aids because of Shai's work, right? So our hearing will never deteriorate. Okay, good. So next recipient is Lior Rotem from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. Lior, please.
Okay, thank you. So I'm Lior, I'm 29. I grew up in Holon and then in Rishon LeZion. My parents are Dorit and Gabi, who are here today. Both of them are industrial and management engineers and mostly wonderful parents. I live in Jerusalem with my wife for 4 months, Daphne, who is also here. And I'm a PhD student in computer science at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem under the supervision of Professor Gil Segev, who was also an Adams Fellow not too long ago and could not be here today. My main area of research is theoretical cryptography, which generally speaking deals with the basing of security properties of computer systems, properties such as secrecy and authenticity, on sound and well-explored mathematical assumptions. And more concretely, I've dealt with all kinds of topics over the last couple of years, but the most recent and perhaps the most prominent one is the security of messaging applications. So at least most of us use some kind of messaging applications in our everyday lives. So for example, we have iMessage, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, etc. And one thing these applications have in common is that they all employ some sort of encryption to protect the privacy of the users against man-in-the-middle attacks, where a man-in-the-middle can read and possibly even modify the messages sent by the users. So what do? Some of these messaging applications have some sort of verification mechanism that requires the users to perform some sort of a manual operation to verify that indeed no man-in-the-middle attack has occurred. So for example, this is done by asking two conversing users to compare a short string that is displayed on both of their devices with the supposed guarantee that if the string is the same on both devices, then no man-in-the-middle attack has occurred. So two questions that I've dealt with recently. One is that these kind of verification mechanisms only existed for user-to-user conversations. So I proposed new protocols that provided similar mechanisms for group chat, again, based on standard and well-established mathematical assumptions. And another question is what happens when these protocols are executed by lazy users who don't exactly follow the instructions provided to them to the teeth, right? So for example, they can compare only a part of the string displayed to them and not the entire string. So first, we showed that some protocols that are used in real life but by real-world messaging applications indeed become completely insecure when executed by such lazy users. And on the flip side, I presented new protocols that do retain the best possible security even in the face of such lazy behavior. As for the future, it is my hope to find a position in Israeli academia. I think that the ability to teach and to conduct research for a living in Israel is both a great honor and a great personal privilege. It is my hope that I will prove myself worthy in the next coming years. And I am extremely grateful to the Adams family for their support in this process. So thank you.
So Lior is also entrusted with making sure that we get a third-generation Adams Fellow within the near future. It's becoming a tradition. Very good. This is really a long-term investment. Okay, so special pleasure to call our next recipient, Asil Shomar from the Technion. Asil, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Asil Shomar. I was born in Nazareth to my loving parents, Michel and Louise, who taught me the importance of academic excellence and, above all, care towards others. So my father, Michel, he's a tax advisor, and my mother, along with my father, worked 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to raise me and my 3 sisters with infinite sacrifices, patience, and love. Unfortunately, she couldn't be with us today. This is a photo of her with me. And she couldn't be with us today because she passed away 3 years ago after a long battle with cancer, which turned to be my research field for my PhD. So in my PhD, which I'm doing at the Technion, under the co-supervision of Professor Nama Brenner and Professor Omri Barak, I will try as much as possible to answer the question, how can cancer cells leave the primary tumors and reach distant organs that pose lethal challenges to these cells and still survive and form secondary tumors? And answering this question, I hope that in the future, other researchers will be able to contrive new treatments for metastasis, which is the primary cause for cancer-related deaths today. And in the end, I would like to thank the Adams family for your generosity and the Israel Academy of Sciences and Humanities for granting me this privilege, and my family for their support. And thank you for listening.
So, number 8, last but definitely not least, Shai Tseses. Again, Shai from the Technion. Shai cannot be here today, but his mother will receive the certificate on his behalf, but we'll start with the movie first.
Good afternoon, everyone, Mr. and Mrs. Adams, Academy members, fellow recipients, and families. My name is Shai Tseses, and I apologize for being unable to attend this ceremony. As you are viewing this message, I am presenting my research at the International Conference on Lasers and Electro-Optics, which is one of the largest conferences in the field of optics. I am sure, however, that my mother and grandfather, sitting in the crowd, will represent me in the most respectable fashion. When I told my mother she had to present my research for me, she nearly had a stroke. So I am very grateful to the organizers, and especially Batsheva, for allowing me to speak to you through this recording. I was born in Haifa, Israel, to Nava, a university lecturer turned bank executive, and to Naftali, a practical engineer working at the agricultural engineering and industrial engineering departments of the Technion, Israel Institute of Technology. My father passed away almost 18 years ago, fighting the dreadful disease of cancer. In most of what I do, I try to make him and my mother proud. And what is it that I do? In my graduate studies, as a PhD student in the electrical engineering department at the Technion, I strive to use light in new ways to improve both existing technology and our fundamental understanding of the world. The 20th century has shown us that if you transfer energy from light to matter, you can get solar cells and CCD detectors. Or, if you transfer momentum, you may use light to position or accelerate matter particles. Light also possesses other conserved traits, which are directly connected to its distribution in space, its so-called topological traits. So far, the transfer of topological traits from light to matter has been rather limited, either by limitations imposed by the way the two interact, or by light's inability to exhibit certain topological traits. In my research, I try to deal with both of these issues. First, to find schemes to create new conserved topological traits in electromagnetic fields. And second, even more important, to identify the regimes in which topological traits pass more freely between light and matter, and demonstrate them. I hope that in the future, my research could give the world new tunable radiation sources. further options for information transfer, processing, and storage, and novel tools for biological and chemical research. I also hope that I can prove a few Nobel laureates wrong along the way, but only as a happy side effect. I wish to thank the Academy for choosing me for the Adams Fellowship, and to thank my mother for bringing me to where I am today. Thank you.
אז את מסיים.
כן, אני אגיד מילה.
אוקיי. את רוצה לדבר עכשיו? מה? את רוצה להגיד עכשיו?
לא, תגיד עכשיו small break.
בסדר. Okay, so before we move to the second musical interlude, I would like to thank again all the recipients for being as good as they are, or as outstanding as they are, and all their parents and spouses and everybody around them for enabling them to bring their excellence into realization so that we can enjoy and share with them their brightness today. So thank you all again.